بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. Brothers, sisters, scholars, elders, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Thank you for joining us on this, the 5th night of our Muharram series with Sheikh Jaffer Ladak. Our deepest condolences to the Imam of our time on the martyrdom of his grandfather Imam al-Hussein alayhi salatu wassalam, the master of martyrs. A tragedy so immense that the heavens wept, the earth trembled, and the skies darkened in grief. We'd like to begin today's program with the recitation of the Holy Quran and Ziyarat Ashura. If we can please welcome Brother Ali Hassan to the minbar with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Before I do begin, I would like to make a kind request that for all the marhumin and marhumats of the people gathered here, for all those who are unable to attend and are watching this Majlis live online, and with permission from the organizers, especially for my first cousin who passed away recently, Mudassar Ali Hassan, if we could recite a surah Al-Fatiha and 3 times Surah Ikhlas for all of those souls of the deceased. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يوم ندعو كل أناس بإمامهم فمن أوتي كتابه بيمينه فأولئك يقرؤون كتابهم ولا يظلمون فتيلا. ومن كان في هذه أعمى فهو في الآخرة أعمى وأضل سبيلا. وإن كادوا ليفتنونك عن الذي أوحينا إليك لتفتري علينا لتفتري علينا غيره لتفتري علينا غيره وإذا لاتخذوك خليلا ولولا أن ثبتناك لقد كدت تركن إليهم شيئا قليلا إذا لأذقناك ضعف الحياة وضعف الممات ثم لا تجد لك علينا نصيرا وإن كادوا ليستفزونك من الأرض ليخرجوك منها وإذا لا يلبثون وإذا لا يلبثون خلافك إلا قليلا سنة من قد أرسلنا قبلك من رسلنا ولا تجد لسنتنا تحويلا أقم الصلاة لدلوك الشمس إلى غسق الليل وقرآن الفجر إن قرآن الفجر كان مشهودا ومن الليل فتهجد به نافلة لك ومن الليل فتهجد به نافلة لك عسى أن يبعثك ربك مقاما محمودا ومن الليل فتهجد به نافلة لك عسى أن يبعثك ربك مقاما محمودا صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل وسلم وزد وبارك على رسول الله وآله الأطهار، على رسول الله وآله الأطهار. أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد. Peace and salawat. I'll now be reciting Ziyarat Ashura, inshallah. If you could please recite another loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد المصيين، السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثارح والوتر الموتور، السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك، عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله، لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات. فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت، ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها، ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم، ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشيائهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله، إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان، ولعن الله بني أمية فاطبة، ولعن الله ابن مرجانة، ولعن الله عمر بن سعد، ولعن الله شمرا، ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتالك. بأبي أنت وأمي لقد عظم مصابي بك، فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثارك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله، إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن قاتلك ونصب لك الحرب وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس الظلم والجور عليكم وأبرأ إلى الله وإلى رسوله ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانا وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشيائكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحرب وبالبراءة من أشيائهم وأتباعهم. إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله وأن يرزقني تلب ثاري مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم. وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبته مصيبة ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تناله منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكباد اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم لعن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية عليهم منك اللعنة أبد العابدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقفي هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد، وآخر تابعا له على ذلك. اللهم لعن الإصابة التي جاحدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني، وابدأ به أولا، ثم لعن الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم لعن يزيد خامسا، ولعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجانه وعمر بن سعد وشمرا وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة في سجود. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم. الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود، وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا محجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
Another loud salawat to thank Brother Ali Hassan for his beautiful recitation. We now have a recitation from Sister Fizza Ali. If I can ask her to come forward and we can all recite aloud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. और मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद सलवात।
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। सो जाओ ऐ सकीना सो जाओ ऐ सकीना अब नहीं होगा मुयस्सर, अब नहीं होगा मुयस्सर तुझको बाबा का वो सीना। सो जाओ ऐ सकीना सो जाओ ऐ सकीना। मैं नहीं भूलूंगी भैया, मैं नहीं भूलूंगी भैया करबला की वो कहानी, अली अस्कर का तबासुम, अली अकबर की जवानी, मेरे गालों पर है ये जो, मेरे गालों पर ये जो शामी मक्तल का पसीना, सो जाओ ऐ सकीना सो जाओ ऐ सकीना। कैसे गुजरेंगे शबो रोज़, कैसे गुजरेंगे शबो रोज़, मुझको भैया ये बता दो, इन अंधेरों में यतीमों को बिरादर ना सुलाओ, तेरी गुर्बत की कसम है, तेरी गुर्बत की कसम है, अब मैं रोंगी कभी ना, सो जाओ ऐ सकीना सो जाओ ऐ सकीना। अल्लाहुम्मा सल्ली अला मुहम्मद व आले मुहम्मद।
Ahsant, mashallah, Sister Fizza. Thank you for that recitation. For her continued service to the Ahlul Bayt, please recite another salawat. We now have our next segment of the nightly narrative by Brother Hassan Ali. If I can ask him please to come forward to the minbar and we can all welcome him with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. To the lover, to the jurist, to the scholar, to the man of law, to the knight who guards his master still. Love, a timeless emotion that connects people. It takes many shapes and forms. One such form is the enduring love that exists among true and loyal friends. It is the 4th of Muharram. Zainab is praying for her brother Hussein. There is panic in the camp. Hussein is surrounded, vastly outnumbered and in need of supporters. There are daily deputations from Yazid to Hussein. His proxies, Ibn Ziyad and Umar ibn Sa'd, are intent on humiliating him. They will spare him if he swears on an oath fealty. Hussein is a man of conscience. He cannot let himself be led by a deranged womanizer who plays with monkeys while sat on his throne drinking wine. Yazid is unfit to lead. Hussein will not legitimize his rule. Hussein dispatches a letter. It is smuggled into Kufa past Ibn Ziyad's blockade. It is addressed to someone special. Hussein holds him in high esteem. He peers into the past and remembers a childhood scene. Picture it. A young man is walking in the streets of Medina. Behind him is a young man. This young man is doing something strange. He's picking up the dust of the footsteps of the prince, kissing it, and in adoration places it upon his eyes. Witnessing this scene is the tearful Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He is visibly moved by the display of affection and respect. He calls out to the young man, hugs him, and kisses him. The young man is none other than Habib ibn Mazahir al-Asadi. The young prince is Al-Hussein himself. The Prophet famously foretells, "O Mazahir, this Habib will come to my Hussein's aid one day." Today is that day. Habib ibn Mazahir is a Kufan belonging to the tribe of Bani Asad. As well as a childhood friend of Hussein alayhi salam, he is counted among the lofty companions of the Holy Prophet and amongst a special group of companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, known as the Shurta al-Khamis, Imam Ali's MI5. Habib has accompanied Ali alayhi salam in the battle of Jamal, Safin and Naharawan. After each battle, inquiring of his martyrdom, "Your martyrdom is guaranteed," Ali would reply. Habib is a man prepared for and unfazed at the prospect of death. Habib is an exegetist, which is a mufassir of the Holy Quran, and a well-regarded jurist of fiqh in the city of Kufa. It is the morning of the 5th of Muharram. Nearly 50 years have gone since that day in Medina. Habib is a man of 75. He is sat having breakfast with his wife. He is anxious of the news of his Imam. He knows he is elder in the wilderness. He is eager to join him, but does not know where to look. As these thoughts take shape in his mind, there is a knock at his door. He receives a letter from his master, which begins, "This is a letter from Hussein ibn Ali to the man of law, jurist Habib ibn Mazahir." It carries on reminding Habib of Hussein's proximity to the Prophet. Habib drops everything. His thoughts are to smuggle himself out of the city and to be with his Imam, salawat.
Per Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, salawat. To thank Brother Hassan Ali for his recitation, please another loud salawat. I'd like to now ask Brother Saeed Al-Hakim to come forward. He is going to recite some English poetry, inshallah. If we can invite him forward with a salawat ala Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Bawaz-e bulantar salawat.
رحم الله من أعاد سورة الفاتحة. All the creatures of the world bow down in prostration. All the creatures of the world bow down in prostration to the Creator of all creation. All of creation bows down in prostration to the Creator of all creation, and the Creator of all creation sends his salutation to Muhammad, salawat. On the path of the righteous, you will lose everything you love. You will lose everything you love. Every tragedy you will face, every single fear, every single person that you hold dear. You will lose everything you love. O Shia, the bitterness of the righteous path. For 1,000 years Nuh preached, to all his people he teached. How many followed him? How few? In the end, only 72. And Hussein turns to his 72 and says, turn and flee, turn and flee. It's not you they want, it's me. Return to your homes and your family. They only want the Prophet's progeny. O men, there is no victory. Only mutilation of your body. Only desecration you will see. The path of the righteous is lonely, and I am doomed to be alone. هل من ناصر ينصرني صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
Jazakallah, Brother Saeed and his wonderful companion for that beautiful recitation. For both of them, please recite another salawat. Just a couple of quick announcements to make. You all know I'm going to ask all the brothers please to move as far forward as possible. There's too much space in the middle. The Majlis, like I said yesterday, doesn't have the same feeling. So if everyone can please come forward, please recite another loud salawat. There's another quick announcement, just touching on food and drink again. I did mention yesterday that the venue unfortunately has strict rules, that we're not allowed food and drink upstairs in this hall, only downstairs. We do have water which we're allowed up here, but nothing else. Apologies for any inconvenience this may cause. I know it's not ideal, but if anyone does have snacks or food for the children, for example, if you could kindly please go outside or go downstairs, quickly eat and come back inshallah. Bar Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. I'd now like to request that we all recite a Surah Al-Fatiha for all of our marhumeen, the shuhada all around the world, our scholars, our teachers, our leaders, the pillars of the Shia community that we have lost. Al-Fatiha. I'd now like to invite Brother Sayyid Sajjad Naqvi. Apologies, I think there's no... Okay, sorry, we've got an announcement before that from Brother Musa. If I can ask him to come forward and we can all welcome him with another salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Sheikh isn't here, so I'm just filling in.
Okay, that's fine.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Please recite another salawat. The other jurist, legislative murder. The story of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, like any good story, is full of comparisons and contrasts, plots, subplots, and dramatic ironies. For every protagonist, there is an antagonist. For every hero, there is a villain. On the 4th of Muharram, as Imam Hussein writes to his friend Habib, addressing him as a man of law, of jurisprudence. On this very day, there is another jurist in the city of Kufa. This jurist has been a judge in Kufa for some 40 years. He is well regarded amongst the gentry of Kufa. His name is Qadi al-Shuraih. Shuraih has a difficult task. Shuraih is being asked to legalize the murder and killing of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Everyone is aware of Imam Hussein's stature. There are hundreds of prophetic narrations in Imam Hussein's honor. The people are reluctant to oppose him. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam reminds them of their prophet. Shuraih has a task. He is to stack up a legal case against Imam al-Hussein to allow the state to move against him. Ibn Ziyad has offered him 100,000 coins of gold for his services. Shuraih gives in. 100,000 coins of gold is too much to pass off. He constructs an argument that Hussein is a baghi. Hussein is a mutineer against the state. He argues that mutiny, fitna, is worse than murder. The punishment for murder is beheading, and therefore Hussein must be beheaded at the very, very least. Shuraih, the jurist, has legalized Hussein's murder. He has now mobilized the twisted political machinations of the legislature against the killing, for the killing of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Imam Hussein, the one who is the very protector of the law. Shuraih has tonight signed Hussein's death warrant. Salawat. We are awaiting the arrival of Sheikh Jaffer. Inshallah, he'll be with us very soon to commence the program and tonight's Majlis. We are extremely honored that Sheikh Jaffer is with us this year for this Muharram. Just to let you know that Sheikh Jaffer, as well as being a great orator, is also a great writer, and he has published 7 books and a numerous number of articles. 2 of his books are on sale at the entrance of the bookshop. One is a book on the history of Yemen. This book, in fact, is a story of the achievement of Imam Ali alayhi salam and his efforts in converting Yemen into becoming Muslim. So this is a very fascinating book as to how Yemen became Muslim. Question? You can ask at the bookstall. I don't know exactly, but I think this one is £10 and this one is £5. So you can ask at the bookstall. This second book is called The Ways of the Righteous. These are inspirational stories from the lives of our Maraja. There's a very interesting story in this book about Ayatollah Sistani. There's a very interesting story in this book about Sayyid Murtaza al-Qazwini after he was shot by Saddam's forces. So I would recommend this book as well, because these are very real stories that you can relate to about people that live within your lifetime. Maybe things in here that you might never have heard. So this is really great effort that Sheikh Jaffer has undertaken. There's also stories about Ayatollah Fazil Milani, who recently passed away. As you know, he was our scholar in London. So I would recommend both these books. So as well as Sheikh Jaffer, we are privileged and honored that we have Sayyid Sajjad Muhammad Naqvi, who has come as our reciter from Pakistan. We're enormously honored that he has, normally he recites his Muharram in Pakistan in front of large gatherings, and we're privileged that he's here with us this particular year. Do participate in the Matam at the end when Sayyid Sajjad recites the Matam. If it'd be opportune now, perhaps, if we invite him and perhaps he can recite something before Sheikh Jaffer comes. Before Sajjad comes up, can you please all come as far forward as is possible with a loud salawat.
بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات. برائے تاجیل ظہور امام زمن بلندتر صلوات. زیادہ دیر کی زحمت نہیں ہے آپ کو. ایک ربائی آپ کی سماعتوں کی نظر کروں گا اور اس دعا کے ساتھ کہ مولا آپ کا اس بارگاہ میں آنا قبول و منظور فرمائے. جو بھی پریشان حال ہے مولا ان کی مشکل کشائی فرمائے اور آپ کی تمام جائز اور شرعی حاجات قبول و منظور ہوں. اپنی تمام جائز اور شرعی حاجات کی قبولیت کے لیے ایک باواز بلند صلوات پڑھیے. لفظ کی شکل میں احساس لکھا جاتا ہے. تھوڑا تھوڑا بولتے آئیں گے تو میری بھی حوصلہ افزائی ہوگی تھوڑی. کہ لفظ کی شکل میں احساس لکھا جاتا ہے. یعنی صحرابی کو بھی پیاس لکھا جاتا ہے. یعنی صحرابی کو بھی پیاس لکھا جاتا ہے. اور میرے جذبات سے واقف ہے قلم بھی میرا. میرے جذبات سے واقف ہے قلم بھی میرا. میں وفا لکھوں تو عباس لکھا جاتا ہے. اور زندہ رہنے کے لیے
کہہ کے عزا کافی ہے، بس ہمیں فاطمہ زہرا کی دعا کافی ہے، اور چاہے جتنی ہی مخالف ہو زمانے کی ہوا، چاہے جتنی ہی مخالف ہو زمانے کی ہوا، ہم کو عباس کے پرچم کی ہوا کافی ہے۔ نعرہ حیدری۔ ایک صلوات پڑھیے بآواز بلند۔ چلیں آپ سن رہے ہیں تو 4 اشعار اور آپ کی سماعتوں کی نظر کروں گا۔ ایک صلوات پڑھیے بآواز بلند۔ یہ یوں سمجھیے کہ میں آپ کی جانب سے مولا کی بارگاہ میں پیش کر رہا ہوں۔ ماتم میں اٹھ رہے ہیں جو یہ ہاتھ بار بار، جو ماتمی ہے اس کے لیے کہ ماتم میں اٹھ رہے ہیں جو یہ ہاتھ بار بار، زہرا سے لے رہے ہیں یہ خیرات بار بار، ماتم میں اٹھ رہے ہیں جو یہ ہاتھ بار بار۔ اپنا اور آپ کا عقیدہ آپ کی سماعتوں کی نظر سنبھالیے شعر کہ چپ ہو گیا میں کہہ کے فقط یا علی مدد، مل کے چپ ہو گیا میں کہہ کے فقط یا علی مدد، ارے زیرے لحد ہوئے جو سوالات بار بار، مل کے حیدر حیدر، ماتم میں اٹھ رہے ہیں جو یہ ہاتھ بار بار۔ چلے سنتے جائیے اب شعر کہ خیبر بھی یاد کیجئے، خندق بھی شیخ جی، خیبر بھی یاد کیجئے، خندق بھی شیخ جی، ارے کیوں اپنی بھول جاتے ہو اوقات بار بار، ماتم میں اٹھ رہے ہیں جو یہ ہاتھ بار بار۔ آپ کی اور اپنی جانب سے مولا کی بارگاہ میں، اللہ کی بارگاہ میں دعا کہ بی بی یہی ہے محسنوں سجاد کی دعا، بی بی یہی ہے محسنوں سجاد کی دعا، اذن ان کو ہم کو عطا ہو، اذن زیارات بار بار، ماتم میں اٹھ رہے ہیں جو یہ ہاتھ بار بار. ایک صلوات پڑھیے بآواز بلند. کربل کی کہانی جب کوئی بھی سنائے گا، دل والوں کے آنکھوں سے ایک دریا بہائے گا، وہ قافلہ سرور کا جو شان سے نکلا تھا، صغرا کو خبر کیا تھی، نہ لوٹ کے آئے گا، زہرا زہرا پرسال و 72 کا، ہے پامال ہوا قاسم جب گھوڑوں کی ٹاپوں سے، پامال ہوا قاسم جب گھوڑوں کی ٹاپوں سے، کس طرح چچا تیری میت کو اٹھائے گا، زہرا زہرا قاسم کبھی پرسالو، ہے سوتے ہی نہ تھے اصغر، جھولے میں تڑپتے تھے، سوتے ہی نہ تھے اصغر، جھولے میں تڑپتے تھے، مادر کو خبر کیا تھی، ایک تیر سلائے گا، زہرا زہرا اصغر کبھی پرسالو، ہے ٹوٹی ہے کمر شہ کی، گھبرانا مگر اکبر، ٹوٹی ہے کمر شہ کی، گھبرانا مگر اکبر، فرزند نبی تیری میت کو اٹھائے گا، زہرا اکبر کبھی پرسالو، ہوئے تھا ہاتھوں کے کٹنے کا
कुछ गम न दिलावर को था हाथों के कटने का, कुछ गम न दिलावर को सैदानियों का पर्दा अब कौन बचाएगा। ज़हरा अब्बास का पुरसालो है सरवर ने उठाए थे सब साथियों के लाशें। सरवर ने उठाए थे सब साथियों के लाशें। शबीर तेरा लाशा अब कौन उठाएगा। ज़हरा ज़हरा शबीर का पुरसालो बर मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु।
पर मोहम्मद व आले मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु। Jazakallah khair, Brother Sajjad, for taking us to Karbala with your beautiful kalam. We're blessed to be able to listen to such reciters. So for his continued service to the Ahlul Bayt, please recite another salawat. Brothers and sisters, before moving forward, I've been asked to make another announcement quickly, just about the disruption from some of the children. We're not asking you to pin the children down, it's just to try and keep the disruption to as minimal level as possible. A lot of people don't mind, but for the small amount of people that get distracted from the majalis, it's not fair on them. So please, if you can just keep the disruptions to an absolute minimal level, Jazakallah khair. I'd also like to take the opportunity to briefly touch on our fundraising campaign for these majalis. It's been mentioned in previous nights, it's currently costing around £5,000 per night. Now we're not asking anyone to donate £5,000, we're just asking for small amounts, £5, £10, whenever you can. These majalis of Imam Hussein will happen regardless. They will happen in someone's garage, they will happen in someone's living room. It's a blessing to be able to have the whole community together in a place like this. So we're just asking you to support us with something very small. And I've said in previous nights, I promise you, it's my personal guarantee, even though I'm nobody, that you're not going to feel it. Bar Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Without any further delay, I'd like to invite our esteemed guest, Sheikh Jaffer Ladak, to the minbar. If we can all welcome him at the same time as moving as far forward as possible, with the loudest of your salawats, ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. حسينيات حسينيات يزيديات يزيديات بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
For the love of the Holy Prophet Muhammad al-Mustafa, one loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And a second in honor of Her Eminence Lady Fatima al-Zahra, sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And with your loudest of voices to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the appearance of Imam al-Mahdi, ajjalallahu ta'ala faraj al-sharif, sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين سيدنا الممجد بشير المصدق المصطفى الأمجد محمود الأحمد أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين واللعنة الله على الظالمين من الأولين والآخرين أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله لا يغير ما بقوم حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم وإذا أراد الله بقوم سوءا فلا مرد له وما لهم من دونه من وال آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Awaited Savior of humanity, Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam, my respected teachers, elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا أبي عبد الله الحسين صلوات الله وسلامه عليه. Throughout the movement of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, there are some 40 stops that he makes between Mecca to Karbala, in which he includes many letters that he sends to various different individuals and communities. One of the letters that he sends is a letter that he sends to the people of Kufa, and actually there are an exchange of letters between him and the people of Kufa. After having sent his letter with his representative, Hazrat Muslim ibn Aqil alayhi salam, when Muslim arrives in Kufa and there is a tumult of support for Hazrat Muslim and of course Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, the Kufans actually send a letter back to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, and he sends another letter to them telling them to expect his arrival. However, within this exchange, this period of a number of days between those letters being sent back and forth, within the letters there are very deep discussions that the Imam wants to have, not only of course for the people of that time, but to endure throughout history such that even you and I understand some of those nuances within the letters. Tonight, inshallah, we want to mention 2 or 3 of those letters and the correspondence between Imam and the people of Kufa. And one of the major points that comes out is that there was a moment before Hazrat Muslim alayhi salam arrives in Kufa. Before he arrives in Kufa, Muslim himself writes to Imam alayhi salam and says, I am worried about this mission. I don't know whether I should be continuing on with this mission. Imam responds back to him, encouraging him, and says that no change can be made within a community unless the efforts are put in. It will be hard. It will be dangerous. Nothing comes without a price. Nothing comes for free in life, whether it is your education and the efforts that a person puts in, whether it's raising the family that you do, whether it's building the business that you want. Nothing comes for free. There is always a requisite amount of effort and study and work that goes in before you will see the successes come. In the same way, for a community to prosper, to make change, O Muslim, do not be afraid of any bad omen. Do not be afraid of any sort of obstacle in your path. Go forth to the people of Kufa, even if you feel afraid. Within that sequence of letters, there are also 2 or 3 points that the Imam makes about how communities can make change. There's one thing saying community makes change. There's another way where we actually can highlight what are the processes involved for a community to prosper. In the ayah of the Quran that we started with, chapter number 13, Surah Al-Ra'd of the Holy Quran, in a very famous ayah that many of us will have heard time and time again, ayah number 11, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. Allah does not change the situation, the condition of a community. Until what? Until they first change their own condition. Allah has a sunnah here. He has a practice, a principle that lasts until the end of time. If a community wants to see prosperity, if a community wants to meet with the challenges, overcome those challenges, Allah's support for that community will not be there unless and until it makes the requisite efforts to make those changes itself. This is Allah's promise within the Quran. Many a time we see ourselves overwhelmed with challenges. But it requires people to step forward. Not just complain, not just say something, but actually to put our time in, our effort in, our finances in, our expertise in, to be able to make those changes. Allah makes this promise for you and I. In this sequence of events with His communications, I want to show you some of the nuances and subtleties about how Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam talks about the conditions for change within a community, so that we also understand those for our own selves. For the love of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, one loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We start with that communication to Hazrat Muslim ibn Aqil alayhi salam, when some events made Muslim alayhi salam fear his mission. Now this is important. Just take a step back and reflect. Normally we attribute to a giant like Muslim ibn Aqil alayhi salam no fear. Normally we would say that a companion of the Imam doesn't worry about the mission that he's placed on. And so there's never a mention from the pulpit that there could be some hesitation. But then when we take a step back in Karbala, we realize the number of different people that were involved. Yesterday we mentioned personalities like Abdullah ibn Abbas, a supporter of Imam al-Hussein. Imam sends him back to Medina and says, "You be my eyes and ears." But then you have someone treacherous, mentioned yesterday, like Abdullah Ibn Umar. We have people, for example, like Hur ibn Yazid al-Riyahi. May Allah reward him, give us his ziyarah insha'Allah. You have people like Hazrat Muslim ibn Aqil. May Allah reward him, grant us his ziyarah insha'Allah. These individuals all had various different roles and stances to play in the movement of Karbala. Sometimes we see ourselves in them. Sometimes we reflect on their roles and how they affect society, or how they have affected us until today. The same comes with Hazrat Muslim alayhi salam. We don't only just speak about his maqtal, we have to see the entirety of his story and his legacy. In the middle of the month of Shahr Ramadan, 60 after Hijrah, Muslim ibn Aqil alayhi salam left Mecca for Al-Kufa at the behest of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. So that is some 2 weeks after Imam departs Medina al-Munawwara for the last time. He arrives in Mecca. He can see that the Meccans are welcoming him. He understands there is so much support building, and Imam knows that in Hajj it should be a crescendo of support for him. However, as I mentioned in a previous night, Amr bin Sa'id was sent as the assassin to kill Imam inside the Hajj ceremonies. In the middle of the month of Ramadan, Shahr Ramadan, Muslim ibn Aqil left Mecca for Kufa. On the way to Kufa, he entered first back to Medina, stayed there a short while. Having visited the tomb of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well as his relatives, he then set out for his fateful mission to Kufa. He went with two guides from the tribe of Al-Qais. Having left Medina, they lost their way and knew no way to cross the huge desert of Hijaz. So Muslim has gone with two guides. Normally, the fact that they're guides, they know their way. If two guides lose their way, this puts you in some worry, puts you in some trouble, especially in a desert. Where am I going to get water from? Where am I going to get shelter from? Do I know if there's going to be safety en route away from attackers, people who want to be able to attack our caravan? After the two guides lost their lives because of sweltering heat and intense thirst, Muslim ibn Aqil alayhi salam was lucky to reach a place called Al-Madiq, where some nomads, some Arab Bedouins were residing. In this way, he managed to survive. Having reached Al-Madiq, Muslim alayhi salam wrote a letter to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam and sent it through the agency of a man from that same tribe. In the letter, Muslim alayhi salam gives an account of the incidents and the loss of the two guides and his survival in the desert. Additionally, he inquired Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam to reconsider dispatching him to Kufa, and if he would regard it suitable to dispatch someone else under the task of going to Kufa for the same event. At the end of his letter, Muslim indicated that he would stay there in Al-Madiq until he receives Imam al-Hussein's reply. And this was the reply from Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. He says the following: Amma ba'ad, now then, I wonder if feeling scared about the incidents, about being lost and losing your two travel companions, I wonder if this incident, you feeling scared, is the reason that you would want to resign from the mission I have appointed you from. Think about this very carefully. Imam sends you on a mission, inshallah. You and I are lucky enough to be granted that tawfiq, to be an agent, a wakil of Imam Ma'soom to a city. He sends you to Manchester, he sends you to Liverpool, he sends you to Glasgow, he sends you to Leeds, and he wants you to fulfill this task. Imagine in advance if I said to you, what would cause you to pen a letter offering your resignation to the Imam? What would be the bar, the standard, the event that would cause you to say, this mission is not for me? I imagine a lot of you would say, nothing. Nothing at all. There would be no threat, no difficulty that would stop me in my assistance of Imam Ma'soom. Salamullahi alayhi. What if I said to you something along the lines of, some bad weather en route stopped you? What if I said to you, there was a block in the middle of the road between Manchester to Liverpool? Would that stop you? What if I said that 2 of your companions died on the way? Would that stop you? I would hope all of us, none of us, would say, no, that would stop me. That would be an impediment for me. Muslim alayhi salam feared that there was maybe some bad omen. The fact that 2 of my guides, my group have died. The fact that I've lost my way and I only managed to get to this point. Maybe it's better that someone else who can know the mission better, who can fulfill this task better, could go en route. Imam raises this point in response. This tiny incident, losing a couple of your guides, having some bad weather, a sandstorm, and getting lost in the middle, that's going to put you off from being the ultimate wakil of Imam throughout history? It tells us in our own way sometimes that if we're not committed to making change, if we allow small incidental roadblocks to stop us from our plans, to move us away from what we're trying to accomplish, if the smallest or even the largest of things are willing to impede us, if Allah's testing us en route is graver than my will and my commitment and my capacity, then of course any small incident is immediately going to knock me off my path. And that's the same with anything in life. You want to build a business? No one's come to the shop yet. You want to study? I don't understand the material. You want to have a family unit that is beautiful and blossoming. The first time something goes wrong with your children, do you give up on them? No. In the same way, with anything, with our commitments to the community, to the Imam's movement, sometimes we see small incidents that push us away from serving. Sometimes there's an argument between volunteers. I'm not going to volunteer ever again. I'm not coming back to that center ever again. How many times have you seen it? The pettiest, smallest of events, and we can't even overcome these small events. But then I think I want to be in the army of Imam. I think I'm willing to be able to overcome any difficulties for Imam. The smallest of event knocks me off my course. It's really important to reflect on these matters because it happens all the time within our communities and within ourselves. There are people who want to start projects. They have noble intentions. There are people who have great ideas. They see maybe a gap within the community. They have the expertise, they have the time, they have the capacity, the wealth to be able to serve. They can put the right people together in the right places. But the smallest of setbacks and pushbacks from another person stops you. This person said no, he doesn't want to be involved. This person said no, he's not going to assist me. And we pull back from serving Imam alayhi salam. The same way you and I would be shocked, or maybe you were just now, to read that Muslim ibn Aqil actually offered to resign his post. It may be that this is the first time you're ever hearing about some of these things. You might be shocked. I've never thought that Muslim ibn Aqil alayhi salam would offer, tender his resignation. I would never do that. Take a reflection on how many times we have started something or willed something in the way of the community and Imam, and the smallest of events have set us back. Weeks, months, years pass, and we never carry on the things that we had committed to Imam. If we want change, the very, very first thing that needs to change is the level of commitment that we have. It's not Allah, it's us. It's us making that honest commitment that when roadblocks come to me, none of them are going to put me off in my service of Imam alayhi salam. I wonder if feeling scared was the reason for you to resign from your mission, O Muslim ibn Aqil. Subhanallah, just khawf, fear is enough to put you off from the mission that we have. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajjal farajum. I wonder if feeling scared was the reason for you to resign from this mission I have appointed you to accomplish. Imam concludes. It's 2 lines. The whole letter is 2 lines. Go forth for the mission in which I entrusted you for. Wassalam. This event that befell you, this little bit of trepidation that is building in you, it does not suffice you to be able to leave the mission of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. And it is the same for you and I in our own lives. Yes, we get busy. Yes, events happen. Yes, we get worried about outside eyes. Yes, we get worried about where my time is going to go, my priorities, all of that. But if you and I want to be able to see change within the communities, if we see gaps, flaws, things that we want to do, don't let yourself be put off by minor incidents that occur. The commentator of this book says something really beautiful here. He says, it is understood from this encouraging discourse of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam that not only must such a leader like Imam, who intended himself to make radical and profound change to the Muslim community, not fearing anything himself, but his associates, his representatives, his delegates must also have courage. Otherwise, such a leader's movement will collapse and the mission would not be accomplished. Without Imam alayhi salam inspiring his own wukala and delegates to be able to carry out the mission to the extent by which they have, the mission cannot be completed. Without me and you having courage to be able to assist the community, push back against oppression, nothing can be accomplished from the movement of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Think about this very, very carefully. What if after Karbala, the Sabaya, the captives, they themselves had been afraid of their duties? No one would have heard of Karbala. What if the Sabaya had said, we are resigning? Who could have been more fearful? Who could have been in harder times than the Sabaya after the 11th of Muharram? To capitulate to fear, to actually think that this is a sufficient reason to stop our progress within the community, is an unacceptable excuse in the eyes of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayh. Now let me mention some other correspondence that occurs. And here, what I want to be able to do is look at it from two angles. One, I want to look at it from the perspective of not individuals in a community making change. Less, what I want to be able to mention is more about collective. And second, I want to talk about how leaders have to organize and orchestrate change. So not individuals in the sense that we only want to talk about how people can come up with ideas and things. No, every one of us has a way to contribute. One of the elements of Islam is that it relies on collective power to make change, not simply individual power to be able to make change. Islam demands that we rise up in numbers, rise up in pairs, rise up in groups, work together. Even the Quran mentions كَأَنَّهُمْ بُنْيَانٌ مَرْصُوصٌ, as if you are a unified group, a wall that cannot be broken. And what you'll find is that even within the sequence of correspondence between Imam and Kufa, that actually you can see that there is the importance of working together as a collective, as a group, so that there is power in numbers. Think about this very carefully. Yesterday, in the Julus, the numbers were incredible that came from across the region, right? 10,000. 10,000 people came to Manchester yesterday. Look at the numbers. Look at the numbers that the Shia community has across the region. And you know very well that many, many more thousands, maybe more that did come, didn't come, for whatever reasons. Look at the power that the collective has. I want to show you here some examples of the way the collective are expected to act with Islam. And this is mentioned throughout a hadith. That actually the collective have to utilize their power to be able to make change, even more so than individuals are expected to make change. Imagine you want to be able to make a change within the community. You are one person. Imagine if 20% of the community stand to make change. 50% of the community stand to make change. You become an unbelievable force. And time and time and time again, the Quran, the Ahadith, and even Fatawa from Maraji' talk about the power of the collective making change. I'll give you a small example. We mentioned yesterday the hadith of the Holy Prophet, Muhammadin al-Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, where he mentions that he saw a dream that after him Banu Umayyah would be sitting on the pulpits of the Prophet. You probably heard in another version of the dream, or maybe in other dreams, maybe the Prophet had multiple dreams, that he saw monkeys jumping up and down on his pulpit. It's symbolic. For the love of the Holy Prophet, one loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali. Even in those narrations,
Some of them mentioned that the Prophet says, and if you see Banu Umayyah sitting on my pulpit, pull them down. Think about this very carefully. The power was given to whom? Across multiple cities of the Ummah, Banu Umayyah would have governors. Banu Umayyah would appoint the Imams of Jama'ah. They themselves would lead the khutbah on many grand public occasions. For example, like an Eid Salah. The Prophet himself entrusted power to the people and said, when you see this corruption take place, don't wait for others. It's not for you to wait for the Imam Ma'soom to do this. It's not for you to wait for others to be able to stand up. It is upon all of you as a wajib kifai to stand up and pull that person down from the pulpit. It's because they didn't listen to the Prophet. It's because they all allowed it one by one, it became normalized. And as a result, across the Ummah, every pulpit was sat on by Banu Umayyah. Power with the people is a very fundamental aspect of Islamic sociology. And what we tend to imagine is that no, we're waiting for Imam, we're giving it to the leaders to do, we always have to sit back. No, actually, throughout this discourse, I want you to note how often the power is given to the people to make change. And the quicker people themselves stand up, the quicker that oppression falls back in its place. I'm going to mention to you an incredible letter exchange between Imam alayhi salam and the people of Kufa. When Muslim alayhi salam arrived in Kufa, he delivered that letter. As soon as the inhabitants of Al-Kufa were informed about Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam's opposition to pledging allegiance with Yazid, his readiness to confront corruption, and his decision to enter Kufa, they dispatched several envoys to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, together with many letters. I want you to see the content of these letters to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. They said the following: now that Muawiyah has perished and the Muslims have finally gotten rid of him, we find ourselves in need of an Imam and a leader who would rescue us from agitation and anxiety and to lead our wrecked ship to the shores of survival. This is the people of Kufa writing to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Now look at this. The Prophet 50 years earlier had told them, when you see Banu Umayyah on our pulpits, don't allow it. Immediately pull him down. Who were the first? In fairness, the first from Banu Umayyah was actually Uthman bin Affan, and Uthman's appointees were actually Banu Umayyah. People like Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan were appointed by the third Khalifa. So it took from that time until now. And now look at what the people are finally listening to the Prophet and his statement. They write in this letter: we need you to help us lead our wrecked ship to the shores of survival. We have now opposed the governor Al-Nu'man bin Bashir, Yazid's governor, and have cut relation with him. We have even stopped going to Salatul Jum'ah with him. This is really important because, as you know, from their perspective, Salatul Jum'ah was wajib. In the time of Imam Ma'soom, Salatul Jum'ah is wajib. Do you understand? The people finally took a stance. After seeing Uthman's government, Muawiyah's government, now the beginning of Yazid's government, it took all this span to finally do what the Prophet himself had told them all along to do. And that wasn't you as individuals rise up. Your power to be able to put Banu Umayyah back from where they came from, on the outskirts of Islam, having no say, no presence, comes with you as a collective doing your duty, not as individuals doing your duty. If you see the monkeys of Banu Umayyah on my pulpit, all of you are duty bound to stand up and pull him down. It took all this time for them to boycott Salat al-Jama'ah, which was a huge movement. I cannot explain more emphasis on how drastic it was for them to say, we are no longer doing Jum'ah behind the governor of Yazid ibn Muawiyah. And think about this very carefully. Even you and I appreciate that there are moments when there is a sea change that occurs within our society. You and I realize when things get to a crescendo and you always know there's no coming back from this movement. Now the movement is becoming too powerful. You can't put the pin back in the grenade. One of those events happened just the other day at Glastonbury. You've all heard it. This wasn't just a concert for 200,000 young people. This was a pro-Palestine demonstration. The BBC accidentally decided to air, even though they knew exactly what was coming. Sometimes when God's hand wants to be present in something, it doesn't need anything other than Allah saying kun, and it becomes fayakun. Think about this very carefully. Until now, in this country, have you ever heard the language death, death to the IDF being spoken? Yes or no? Yes? One brother has been chanting it way, way before that brother Dylan was reciting it, evidently. 200,000 people, and it being live streamed across the BBC, and now it's spread throughout the world. Do you think that this is going to be put back in the grenade? Or do you think the power of the image of 200,000 people saying this will now spread further along? Which one? Spread further along. Fine, you can call it hate speech. You can pretend to not understand what's being said. You can pretend that saying death, death to the IDF is actually worse than massacring 250,000 people, displacing 2 million people in Gaza. You can pretend that those two things are equal, but no one in their right mind believes you anymore. It's past the test. When people in masses stand up and they decide that they've had enough, after 20 months of witnessing a live stream genocide, you cannot even stop 200,000 people singing that same chant. And tomorrow on the streets, more and more people will say it as well. And even if they don't sing it, it will be discussed. What does it mean, death, death to the IDF? Well, don't you know that yesterday, they gunned down another 100 people trying to collect flour? Is this news to you, my friend? You would ask them. Subhanallah, Allah is my witness. I don't know if I retweeted this, but I saw 2 days ago, one youth, I don't know, 16 years old. He's gone to collect flour, a bag of flour, from one of those extermination points. He's carrying a bag of flour on his back. Allah Shahid, the IDF dropped a bomb on him. I've seen it with my own eyes. It was captured on video. You can't escape it. Imagine your 18-year-old son, your own 16-year-old son, trying to bring flour or water back to a starving family, and be rained down with a bomb? Are you telling me we don't understand Karbala through this? When an 18-year-old son Or an Abu Fadl Abbas goes out to bring water for children and he's shot at with 4,000 arrows. You can't put the pin back in the grenade. People have finally seen what they have seen. But if it's just you as an individual, or just you as an individual that stands up, they will pick you off one by one. But when you are 200,000 people, when you are 2 million people, it's too difficult for them to put the pin back in the grenade. What did they say to Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam? They wanted to prove a point to the Imam. We have boycotted Salat al-Jum'ah of the government of Yazid. Fine, it was decades late, but they finally did what they did. The power has always been in your numbers and not in your individual numbers. Understand this. And time again, the Quran and Ahlul Bayt alayhim wassalam speak about it. There's one bab of fiqh which is called al-ihtikar. Al-ihtikar, for example, is the issue of hoarding something, anything. If you hoard anything in Islam, this is amongst the ghunai kabira. It is amongst the worst, most grievous sins you can commit. During the pandemic, people used to hoard all sorts of things that were needed. You remember, people used to hoard, for example, even hand sanitation. In Islam, it is haram to do that. Imam al-Sadiq, quoting the Holy Prophet, Muhammadin al-Mustafa, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, mentions in the hadith for the muhtakir, the one who hoards things that people need. It could be salt, it could be petrol, it can be water, it can be anything. For the one who hoards, if you speak to the muhtakir and he doesn't listen to you, it is upon the entirety of the community to go to his house and take back the things that he has been hoarding. It is a collective movement. You don't have one person doing it. Shara'an, it is the duty of the collective to do it. It's wajib kifa'i to do it. Unless and until enough people have taken back the rights, nobody is permitted to rest. The group in Islam is hugely important to making change within the community. So what have we said? We said, number one, for example, the condition cannot be that there is fear in what we do. The second condition for change is that we cannot give up very quickly in the things that we want to be able to do. Number three, change, the best form of change must come from when we collectively work together. We put our power together collectively, and you will see that you make great change immediately by virtue of the numbers. The last is for the leaders. When change is afoot, when community needs change, when someone comes to you asking you to make change, progress, justice within the community, there are even conditions upon leadership as to how they need to operate with change. This is very important. Anyone in this room who is a leader of the community, the Islamic community, in any way, shape or form, you organize Majlis, you organize Ziyara, you organize the Madrasa, you have some leadership role within the community, know that there are conditions for your leadership. It's not free range. A person who is incapable of Islamic leadership, it is haram upon you to become a leader of the Muslim community. It is wajib that someone who is more capable than you is in place rather than a person who is incapable of leading. And as such, people have to understand their duties and the way in which they have to treat the notions of change and making progress and justice when someone comes to you with a complaint, and how we need to be able to make changes within those moments. I'll give you a couple of examples. In Nahj al-Balagha, in his letter to Malik al-Ashtar, letter number 53, You all know that there is a lengthy letter to Malik telling him how to be the righteous, proper leader of the state of Egypt. Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayh, says the following. And again, I'm pointing to you about someone who's in a leadership position. Change has to occur in a certain way and at a certain pace. Should change be slow or should change be fast? Imam says to Malik al-Ashtar the following. There are certain matters which you, Malik, cannot avoid performing yourself. Think about this. Malik is the head of a government, correct? An entire country. Misr is not a small land. He's got a lot of duties to fulfill. He has a lot of departments to oversee. He has a lot of justice to ensure occurs on behalf of none other than the most just man in the history of humanity after the Prophet. This is the level of duty on Malik. There are certain matters, O Malik, which you cannot avoid performing yourself. You can't hand it over to other people and say, you do it. For example, replying to your officers when your secretaries are unable to do so. Or disposing of the complaints of people when your own assistants shirk their duties. Did you understand that? Malik, you are my representative. It's like me saying an imam writes to Marja' al-Taqleed, for example. Says, you are the head of this land. You're responsible to oversee this land. And then he says, there are certain things you can't avoid doing yourself. One of them is when complaints come to you and your assistants, the one who are supposed to deal with it, if they don't deal with it properly, if they shirk their duty, if they don't have time, if they forget, if they are ill, if any reason they do not fulfill that, it is your duty, Malik al-Ashtar, to immediately deal with the complaint of the person who comes to you. Imam continues, finish every day the work that comes to it for that day. Because every day has its own work and rizq assigned to it. I may put off something 2, 3, 5, 12 days. Someone comes to me with an issue, a complaint. I say, I'll deal with it next week, next month. Subhanallah. Imam says that actually you are duty bound to deal with that issue there and then. For leaders to make change, there are issues that come to them every day from the community. Maybe that there's a family dispute. It may be a divorcee. It may be an issue of finances. It may be a complaint about the Majlis. It may be a suggestion about the program. A person may say, I'll deal with it next year. I'll deal with it another time. That person isn't important to me in the community. I won't really pay them the attention that they deserve. No. Imam says, if you work on our behalf and you have this level of responsibility, it is your duty to deal with that issue immediately. Why? When someone comes to you with a problem, for them it is the most urgent thing in the world. For you, it's not important. For you, it's a very minor issue. But for another person, it is very important. So to deal with it that day, to acknowledge it and say, yes, we will deal with it, is something so important in the system of the justice of Imam alayhi salam. Once, His Eminence, Imam Khomeini rahmatullahi ta'ala alayh, was sent a letter by one of the elder, very old ulama of the community. This alim becomes so old that he was ill constantly, on his bed, unable to work, unable to look after his family. And so his income was almost nothing, or maybe it was nothing at all. And he had reached the point where he was now in need of the state to assist him. From a different city, he writes to Imam Khomeini alayhi rahmah and says to him, we were friends, you know of me, I'm well known, but my circumstance has become so bad. I'm on my bed continuously. I am responsible for the rizq for my family. I am too unwell to earn. I need your help. Imam Khomeini receives this letter and he calls one of the wukala from his maktab, from his office. And he says to him, this is the letter. I want you tomorrow to go to this city, this faraway city. Tomorrow, go to this city, meet with him, check out his condition, check out his needs, his income, his expenditure, and come back to me so we can fix for him the right amount that is due for him for his needs. The next day, Imam Khomeini's son was martyred. Imam Khomeini's son was poisoned to death. Overnight, they found out about the news of his son's death. And throughout the morning, people would come to Sayyid al-Imam and break the news to him very slowly, not wanting to shock him at his elder age that his son has been poisoned on the movement of Islam. Eventually, he recognizes that people keep talking to him and dropping hints, and he just says, tell me what has happened. And the moment they break down and tell him, can you imagine the house? The whole house is in pandemonium. They are crying and weeping. They have to organize a janazah. The state has to be informed. There are people now out on the streets. Thousands of people are coming to Imam Khomeini to give him condolences. Can you imagine the extent of the duties on Sayyid al-Imam's shoulders at that moment, let alone his personal grief? At that time, they actually said to him, we'll close down the hawza for 3 days in mourning. The Imam said, no, carry on with your studies. The amount that he had to deal with during that day, that morning gathering, everyone in his house, he called his wakil. What are you still doing here? What do you mean? Didn't I tell you yesterday that you had to go to this town in order to be able to visit with a person that has asked for our help? The wakil said, I didn't know if I should go today. There's so much duty inside the house that has to be done inside the government. Imam said, no, I told you go and help that person. He asked for our assistance. Go immediately. When that man reached the elderly individual who was lying ill on his bed, do you know what he said when he saw the representative of Sayyid al-Imam Khomeini? He said, when I heard that his son had been poisoned, I lost all hope that anyone from the government of Sayyid al-Imam would come and assist me. I can't believe that I am seeing you here responding to my letter and my plea. Ali ibn Abi Talib salamullahi alayhi said to the leaders, if you want change within the community, when you see the challenges, you have to deal with them immediately. There is not the idea that we make this slow, procrastinated, long-winded change over generations and generations, losing people's confidence in the community, in the institution over a period of time. Imam wrote to Malik al-Ashtar, when someone comes to you with their needs, with what they see is happening with the community, when you see it, immediately you must make change, you must assist them, not allow it to drag on and let people lose hope within the community. This is the example of Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi. Once, there was a companion by the name of Sauda al-Hamadaniya. She was a companion of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Her story is incredibly interesting. To understand the difference between change in a Muawiyah-led government and a government led by Ali ibn Abi Talib. Sauda bint Ammara al-Hamdaniya from Yemen. She was one of those that converted to Islam when Amir al-Mu'mineen visited Yemen. And when the Battle of Siffin took place, her brother joined Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam in the Battle of Siffin. Do you know what she said? She said, I want to join you in Siffin. Don't think for a second that the women of our community should not be at the forefront of leadership and change. Do not think that the prominence of our sisters in seeing those challenges, understanding those challenges, managing those challenges should not be at the forefront of our community. No, it is the other way around. No Islamic movement has ever been successful without the women of that community, of that moment, leading. No Islamic movement has ever been successful without the women of that period being at the forefront of that movement. Sauda, she used to recite poetry in the Battle of Siffin, galvanizing the companions of Ali ibn Abi Talib, but also reciting poetry against Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. And these poems became so famous that they even reached Muawiyah's ears himself. They reached even those people who were surrounding Muawiyah. After the Battle of Siffin and Muawiyah eventually becomes the Khalifa, Muawiyah sends his tax men to Yemen, and they begin to tax this tribe of Al-Hamdaniya and actually steal properties from them. They would overtax, they would overburden, they would take more, they would put in their own pockets, they would give a very tiny amount to the state and then thieve the rest for themselves. The tribe said to themselves, we will not allow this. Let us send someone to Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan who can make change within the community, who could stop this from occurring. Whom did they send? This lady, Sauda bint Ammara al-Hamdaniya, was sent to Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. She gets to the court, and the men of the court tell Muawiyah, that lady that used to recite poetry against you in Siffin, she has come to speak to you today. The narration says, Muawiyah comes out of his room reciting the lines of poetry from her, from Siffin. That's how much it had affected him, that he had memorized those same lines of poetry. He wanted to show that I know exactly who you are. What do you want? She says, your tax collector has been stealing from us. We want our money back. He responds by rejecting. He says, no, the tax collector is doing fine. It's his job to take from you. Immediately, extemporaneously, off the top of her tongue, she recites a new line of poetry. She says, what about that individual that when he died, justice died with him? Muawiyah said, what are you talking about? She said, I was giving you a line about Ali ibn Abi Talib. Since he died, justice has also died. she begins to respond and say, no, we are not going without. Do you know what he says? He says, I have so much power that if I wanted, I could strap you to a camel and make the camel walk you back through the heat of the sun in the desert back to Yemen. Do you know what this lady responds with? Subhanallah. She says, if you would either give us our properties back or fire your tax collector, we would be appreciative. We would be pleased with you. And if you do it not, I can't guarantee what we will do to him. Subhanallah. This is a woman saying, understand, she's not speaking as an individual. She's saying as a collective, as a tribe, I can't guarantee what my tribe will do to that thief of yours. At this point, Muawiyah realizes that if one by one he loses the authority of his tax collectors, then he stops having money coming into him to be able to harass and to kill and to create fictitious ahadith and to bribe people. So immediately he relents. Sauda wins the battle. You know what he says to her? He says, I will write for you whatever was taken from you, I will write it for you, no problem. She says, no, I won't leave here unless you write the entire amount that has been taken from my tribe. Do you understand? Earlier on in her life, the same thing had happened with Ali ibn Abi Talib. The narration says that one of Ali ibn Abi Talib's own tax collectors had made a mistake and taken too much money from the same people. Sauda herself had gone to Ali ibn Abi Talib, and the narration says he was standing in prayer. She was standing in such a way in front of him so that he couldn't see her, so that he actually noticed that there was a woman standing in front of him waiting for him to pray, waiting for him to finish praying so that she could talk to him. Do you know what he did? He finished his prayer quickly, immediately, and went to this lady Sauda. This lady Sauda complained about the situation, that there was a mistake in the tax. Sauda says, I saw Amir al-Mu'mineen to complain against an agent who had been appointed by him to collect zakat. When I stood before him, he said with so much kindness, do you want anything to be done? Why are you standing here? I complained to him against his agent. On hearing what I narrated, he wept. He raised his hand to dua and Allah, and he said, Oh Allah, oh Lord, I have neither ordered these agents to oppress the people nor asked them to abandon your right. Immediately Ali ibn Abi Talib stopped what he was doing, took out a piece of paper from his pocket and wrote a letter to that agent on how to change the way in which he judged his zakah so that he could do it correctly and by the qawl of Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi. Change in a community has these shurut and conditions. You cannot be fearful. Just because when something is a roadblock in front of you, that doesn't permit you to give up. Change occurs with the extent of your niyyah. The stronger your intent, the greater the change will be, number one. Number two, the quickest way to make change is through collective power. You don't realize the power that you have when you stand together. And that collective power has always brought about change within the history of humanity and Islam. And number three, leadership has requirements to understand the notions of change. A person cannot be a leader in any place in the Muslim community without understanding the notions of change and how they need to operate when people come to them and ask for changes to be made within the community. If we understand this, we will be able to make the changes that are required for us in our own communities. Tonight, We want to commemorate many of the women of Karbala. Tonight, we want to honor the sacrifice of those mothers and those sisters and those daughters who gave everything that they had. A mother wants nothing more than to see her child grow up to prosper. For 10 months, that child was in the womb of the mother. They gave everything that they had of themselves in order to bring this child into the world, in order to look after this child, and then to give them up to the swords and the arrows of Banu Umayyah is a sacrifice that only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can reward back with. Do you think for a moment that when the mother of Asghar gave Asghar to Imam al-Hussein, do you think for a moment she didn't know in the heart of hearts what this meant when she was handing her child over? Do you think that she doesn't know the enmity of Banu Umayyah? Has she not seen how they dealt with Awn and Muhammad, how they dealt with Qasim? Do you think for a moment that if they would not starve these children, that they would not kill them as well? Salamullahi alayha. I want you then to imagine someone like al-Baneen who has to give 4 of her sons on the 10th of Muharram. And I want you to imagine that when she hears back and when people come to her to tell her the stories of Karbala, every time they say to her, this is what your son did on the 10th of Muharram, she immediately stops them and says, I don't want to know about this son of mine. I want you to tell me what happened to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, for he is my main concern. He is the one I want to be able to know about. What could they tell al-Baneen? All they wanted to tell her about was Abbas. His arms were cut. They threw an arrow into his eye. They hit him over the head, but each time she said, no, don't tell me about this. What happened to my beloved Hussein? If you imagine how much she loved Hussein, could you imagine what she must have felt when they told her about Hussein? They struck him with a 3-pronged arrow within his heart. They struck him across his neck. They cut his head off. They placed it on a spear. I cannot imagine that al-Baneen stood. I can only imagine that she must have fallen to the ground. I can only imagine that when she went into the house of Salama must have been sitting and weeping. You can imagine al-Baneen sitting and weeping together. Oh Allah, what did they do to our son Hussein? I want you to imagine the women of the camp on the 10th of Muharram telling every one of their brothers, of their husbands, of their sons that I want you to go out today and to be able to make your pledge through the children, through the men that you have. I don't want you to come back to me. I want you to imagine the mother of Wahab in that famous line of Gham, that when she receives the head of Wahab, she says, this is not for me. This was a gift in the way of Imam al-Hussein, and we don't take back what we have given in the way of Imam al-Hussein. I want you to imagine someone like Lady Kulthum, who was not married. She did not have a husband or a son to give. I want you to imagine that when she looks at Abbas walking past her tent, I want you to imagine in her heart, she must have turned to Medina al-Murawwara and said, Assalamu alayki ya Ummah. Oh Mother, peace and blessings be upon you. Today, this is my sacrifice. This is my gift to you, O Fatima. I want Abu Fadl Abbas to be in my name. I want you to remember how all the women had given their sacrifice. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. ماتم حسين يا حسين يا حسين.
کربلا دیا ماوا ہے ماوا کربلا دیا ماوا پتراں دیا لاشاں دے ٹکڑے ریاں لب دیاں وچ صحراواں ماواں کربلا دیاں ماواں ماواں کربلا دیاں ماواں صبر دے مالک نو سین لیلا کے اذن جے دیویں تے میں صبر دی ساز چ اکبر دے سینے چو سانگ ہٹاواں کربلا دیا ماواں ماواں کربلا دیا ماواں آنکھیں ماں قاسم دی ماتے احسان کریں دیر تائیں لڑدا رویں تیرے ٹکڑے مطابق ودھنیاں نے میرے ویر حسین دساواں ماواں کربلا دیا ماواں ہائے ماواں کربلا دیا ماواں ہائے ماواں کربلا دیا ماواں ہائے ماواں اجرکم اللہ سبحان اللہ سبحان اللہ ہائے ماواں ہائے ماواں کربلا دیا ماواں ہائے ماواں کربلا دیا ماواں ہائے ماواں کربلا دیا ماواں ہائے ماواں جیو more louder ہائے ماواں سبحان اللہ ہائے ماواں ہائے ماواں دیا ماواں ہائے ماواں کربلا دیا ماواں پتراں دیاں لاشاں دے ٹکڑے ریاں لب دیاں وچ صحراواں ماواں کربلا دیاں ماواں ہائے ماواں ہائے ماواں سبحان اللہ ہائے ماواں اے ماواں جیو اے ماواں دیاں ماں صبر دے مالک نو سین لیلا آکھے اذن جے دیویں تے میں صبر دی ساج چ اکبر دے سینے چو سانگ ہٹاواں ماواں کربلا دیاں ماواں اے ماواں کربلا دیاں ماواں اے ماواں اے ماواں اے ماواں اے ماواں اے ماواں آنکھیں ماں قاسم دی ماتے احسان کریں تیرے تائیں لڑدا رویں تیرے ٹکڑے مطابق وطنیاں نے میرے ویر حسین دساواں ماواں کربلا دیاں ماواں ہائے ماواں ہائے ماواں ہائے ماواں ہائے ماواں اے ماواں اے ماواں کربلا دیاں ماواں اے ماواں پتراں دیاں لاشاں دے ٹکڑے رہیاں لب دیاں وچ صحراواں زہرا کی بیٹیوں کی ردائیں اتر گئیں زہرا کی بیٹیوں کی ردائیں اتر گئیں ہے زہرا کی بیٹیوں کی ردائیں اتر گئیں سجاد کو ضعیف صدائیں یہ کر گئیں زہرا کی بیٹیوں کی ردائیں اتر گئیں ہے جاتی تھی جو کبھی کبھی زہرا کی قبر پر ہے جاتی تھی جو کبھی کبھی زہرا کی قبر پر جانے خدا ہجوم سے کیسے گزر گئی اے زہرا کی بیٹیوں کی ردائیں اتر گئیں اے زہرا کی بیٹیوں کی ردائیں اتر گئیں اے لاشوں کو رسیوں میں جکڑ کر لیے پھرو اے لاشوں کو رسیوں میں جکڑ کر لیے پھرو سیدانیاں تو گھر سے نکلتے ہی مر گئیں اے زہرا کی بیٹیوں کی ردائیں اتر گئیں اے زہرا کی بیٹیوں کی ردائیں اتر گئیں اے زہرا کی بیٹیوں کی ردائیں اتر گئیں ہائے رملہ یہ پوچھتی تھی سکینہ سے قید میں، ہائے رملہ یہ پوچھتی تھی سکینہ سے قید میں، زخمی ہے کان بالیاں بی بی کدھر گئیں، اے زہرا کی بیٹیوں کی ردائیں اتر گئیں، اے رملہ یہ پوچھتی تھی سکینہ سے قید میں، اے رملہ یہ پوچھتی تھی سکینہ سے قید میں، زخمی ہے کان بالیاں بی بی کدھر گئیں، اے زہرا کی بیٹیوں کی ردائیں اتر گئیں۔ نام مولا پڑھتے آؤ۔ اے زہرا کی اتر گئیں، ہے زہرا کی بیٹیوں کی ردائیں اتر گئیں، ہے زہرا کی اتر گئیں، ہے نام مولا سب آواز بلند پڑھو، بسم اللہ سبحان اللہ۔ ہائے بازار لے کے جاؤ نا بے پردہ ظالموں، ہائے بازار لے کے جاؤ نا بے پردہ ظالموں، مر جائیں گی حسین کی بہنیں اگر گئیں، اے بازار لے کے جاؤ نا بے پردہ ظالموں، اے بازار لے کے جاؤ نا بے پردہ ظالموں، مر جائیں گی حسین کی بہنیں اگر گئیں، اے زہرا کی بیٹیوں کی ردائیں اتر گئیں، اے زہرا کی بیٹیوں کی ردائیں اتر گئیں، اے زہرا کی بیٹیوں۔ اب آپ کی باری، آواز بلند سبحان اللہ۔ بی بی سیدہ ان آوازوں پہ رحمت فرمائیں، اور بآواز بلند سبحان اللہ۔ اتر گئیں، ہے زہرا ہے زہرا کی، اے گودوں سے راہ شام میں گر گر کے مر گئے، اے گودوں سے راہ شام میں گر گر کے مر گئے، بچوں کے لاشیں دیکھ کے مائیں بھی مر گئیں، زہرا کی بیٹیوں کی ردائیں اتر گئیں، آئے گودوں سے راہ شام میں گر گر کے مر گئے، آئے گودوں سے راہ شام میں گر گر کے مر گئے، بچوں کے لاش دیکھ کے مائیں بھی مر گئیں، اے زہرا کی بیٹیوں کی ردائیں اتر گئیں، اے زہرا کی بیٹیوں کی ردائیں آخری مصرع زہرا بی بی سیدہ کو راضی کرنے کے لیے باواز بلند پڑھو. ہائے ہائے جاتی تھی جو کبھی کبھی زہرا کی قبر پر جاتی تھی جو کبھی کبھی زہرا کی قبر پر جانے خدا ہجوم سے کیسے گزر گئی. جاتی تھی جو کبھی کبھی زہرا کی قبر پر جاتی تھی جو کبھی کبھی زہرا کی قبر پر جانے خدا ہجوم سے کیسے گزر گئی. اے زہرا کی بیٹیوں کی ردائیں اتر گئیں. اے زہرا کی بیٹیوں کی ردائیں ہائے ہائے زینب ہائے ہائے شام ہائے ہائے زینب ہائے ہائے شام ہائے ہائے زینب ہائے ہائے شام ہائے ہائے زینب ہائے شبیر کی وہ لاڈلی سینے پہ جو شاکے پلی سینے پہ جو شاکے پلی ماتم جس کی ابا بن میں جلے جس کی ابا بن میں جلے منہ پر تماچوں کے نشان ہائے ہائے زینب ہائے ہائے شام ہائے ہائے زینب ہائے ہائے شام ہائے ہائے زینب ہائے ہائے شام ہائے ہائے وہ اصغر بے شیر تھا اور حرملہ کا تیر تھا اور حرملہ کا تیر تھا ننا گلا کیوں کر چھدا ننا گلا کیوں کر چھدا روئے زمین اور آسماں ہائے ہائے پر محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
Brothers and sisters, just a few minutes till the azan for Maghrib. If you renew your wudhus, if you need to, inshallah, we will commence in a few minutes' time with the Maghrib namaz. Salawat.